All right, so we've made our virtual machine and now we want to get some stuff done. The way we're going to start off is by making a clone of our virtual machine. The reason why I suggest making a clone is because if you make a mistake, it's always nice to have a good virtual machine to fall back on. So if you right click on the virtual machine you just created or have in your panel of virtual or your window of virtual machines, you select create full clone. It's going to say, hey, would you like to make a clone of it? Should I put it in the same default location? You say, sure. And it's going to take a second to create a clone of that virtual machine. Once it's done, you're going to have two virtual machines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this window. It doesn't delete anything. All it does is it closes it. Now we've got this virtual machine. This is the console of it. I've got my Macintosh terminal over here. And my goal right now is to be able to get this virtual machine to see files that are on my computer. I've made a folder over here called shared folder with guest. It's an obvious name so that we can work out how we can get this folder visible to our virtual machine. So our first step is going to be to run the virtual machine. Now the credentials for this virtual machine are what we created the first time that we created the virtual machine. I selected a username and a password. Still need to remember what those are. For some reason, it is checking the file system. There we go. Now it's moving along. We can log in. Great, we're logged in. And we can look right here that this is our IP address for our virtual machine. So if we want to, we can use our Mac's terminal. And we can actually have multiple terminals connected to our virtual machine. And I'll do that here. I'm going to say SSH, my username, at the computer's IP address, or the virtual machine's IP address, 168.42.129. And if this is the first time I'm logging into this machine, it's going to prompt me. It's like, hey, do you recognize this fingerprint? When you say yes, it's going to save it in a little database saying, okay, I'm permanently adding that key so I can recognize that computer in the future. The second time you log in, it won't do that again. If you create a new virtual machine, the key will be different. And so it's typical to go through that process. And you might actually get a conflict, and you can easily edit that database. And the database is just a text file, and just remove that line should you have a conflict. Our first step is to go to the root level of our computer, our virtual machine. If I type ls, you can see there's a whole bunch of directories. What I'm interested in is this directory right there, mnt. MNT mount is the place that we typically are going to mount file systems. So if we've got a disk, it can mount it into a folder here. If we've got a USB disk, a USB flash drive, a CD-ROM, a DVD, whatever it might be, it can be mounted there. I'm going to go into that directory, and currently there's nothing mounted external to our computer, but I want to add a directory, and I'm going to use the sudo command, sudo, to create a directory, and I'm going to call it HGFS. The reason I'm calling it HGFS, it has to do with the plugin that I'll be using to talk from my Mac to this Ubuntu virtual machine. And HGFS is just a convenient name to keep everything organized with what we're doing. It's going to prompt me for my password, type that in, and now we can see that that folder has been created. Our next step is to go to the /etc directory, etc. And there is a file in here called fstab. This file is a file owned by the system. So we're going to use the sudo command to escalate our privileges, to edit it, to add something into it. Typically I would use VI, but because I don't know if you know how to use VI or not, I'm going to use Nano. Nano is like a really, really, really easy text editor to use. And I'm going to ask Nano to open up the file fstab. And fstab just means file system table. And this might be really magical and confusing, but there's not much to it. It's just a series of entries that I say, like, take this file system, put it at this mount point. This is the type of the file system, and here are the options to make it happen. Dump has to do with how a system does backups. If you say 0, it says don't make a backup. And pass has to do with what pass that happens in. Those don't really matter. All we need to know is that we can put a comment for ourselves here. And this is just like a typewriter. I can use my arrow keys to move around, or word processor, I should say. And I'll write a note to myself. Kind of self-descriptive. So I'm going to figure out a way to mount a folder from my Mac into my Ubuntu VM. And the magical incantation is VM HGFS-fuse. I'm going to push tab, and it's MNT HGFS, tab again, fuse, tab. Actually, I can use spaces too. Space, tab. Should be okay either way. Defaults, allow underscore other. Ooh, fingers on the wrong keys. Defaults, comma, allow, no space after the comma, allow other, 0, 0. We double check our work, VM HGFS-fuse. Then a space, /MNT/HGFS, space, fuse, space, defaults, comma, allow other, with an underscore between the allow and the other, 0 and 0. What this means is that we're going to be using a piece of software that's going to mount a user space file system via a piece of software, magical tool that's going to read from our Mac and send it over to our Linux computer, and it's going to mount it here. So this is the tool. And it's going to put whatever it finds over here. To exit, I look down here and I see, oh yeah, Control X. That little caret means control, and X is X. So I'll just say push Control X. Save the modified buffer. Yes, you want to. Use the name that you have there, FS tab. And because you promoted yourself to super user, it will complete and there won't be an error. If you forget to do the sudo, it's going to tell you that FS tab is unwritable. You can't do anything with it. You try to make changes, it won't work. So you need to exit, Control X to exit, and remember to put the sudo in front of it, sudo, sudo. Anyway, once that's done, we need to make sure that we've got a package installed. That package is called Open VM Tools. To do that, I'm going to say app list installed. And I'm going to look for the words Open VM Tools. There it is. It's installed. Now, if it wasn't installed, all you have to do is say sudo apt install open VM tools. And because it's already installed, it won't do anything. It's just like, hey, it's already installed. Don't worry about it. So once we've done that, we're going to add a directory. If we go to our little control panel here, right click on it and go to settings. We can go to sharing, and we can enable shared folders. And here, I'm going to add a directory. Now, in documents, I created that shared folder. Oh, it's sorted by date. There it is at the top. I passed right by it. Shared folder with guests. I'm going to add that. Remember, that has to be checked. This has to be checked. And going to give it read-write permission. Be warned, whatever you mount into your virtual machine, it will be available to all the programs in your virtual machine. Meaning if you or a program delete something, it will delete it from your Mac or delete it from your host operating system. This is a somewhat dangerous operation. You want to not share your entire disk. You only want to share a portion of it so that if something bad happens, it won't delete everything. So we've shared that one single folder. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to come back over here. And now that I've done that, I want to enable this plugin. So sudo system control. Enable open VM tools. So now I've enabled that plugin and it's running. and I'm going to reboot my VM, and I'm going to see if I see the files in shared folder with guests. So I'm going to say sudo reboot. Now, while it's rebooting, I'm going to go to where that folder is. It's wrong spot. Documents, shared folder with guests. Currently, there's nothing there. So let's create a file. I'm going to create a file called blue.txt. And inside of this, I'm going to write a bunch of animal names. I'll say elephant, dog, cat, and what about another animal? A goldfish. So that file is inside this folder. I can see it from here on my terminal as well as from the Finder. And now that this is rebooted, I can log in. The IP address won't change. And my password. If I go to the root directory, there's the MNT directory. And inside of it, there's the HDFS directory that I created earlier. Now, if everything worked out, there should now be a folder that has the same name as the folder on my Mac, shared folder with guest. Go to that folder, and there's that file I just created. So if I look at that file, I can use a command like cat to cat it out. I can also use the command less to show it on my screen. Now to get out of less, I push Q. Q will exit. So less, I can look at it. Now I can use my text editor, and I can use Nano or VI, whatever you want to use. And we can add something to it. Let's add another animal. What's another animal? Giraffe. I think that's how you spell it. And let's add another animal. How about a dolphin? Control X to exit. Save the modified buffer. Yes. Same name, blue.txt. I come over here and I now view it. I can see that giraffe and dolphin have been added to it. So now I've got this way that I can communicate between my Macintosh system and my Ubuntu system, so that if I want to do some software development, if I want to create files and have it compiled on the Ubuntu system, I can do that. In fact, let's try this out. So this window just tells me that it's running and I don't really need it. This is the way I can get to the control panel. Don't really need it. Over here, I've got a terminal logged into my Linux system. That's handy. Why don't we create a file? Let's call it, I'll call it index.html. And in it, here I am using VI. Sorry, I should have used Nano. Let's body. Hello world. Oh, I should say it's a body and heading. Great. So now you can see I've got that file there. I could have made it on my Macintosh. And now, Python installed? Oh, I meant Python 3. And now it started a server on my Ubuntu system. Let's see if I can view that page. I hope this works out because I didn't test this ahead of time. So I'm going to take this, do that, and it quite didn't work. What was the IP address again? 268. Did I log into? Yeah, let's just copy this. Port 8000. Hey, it worked. And you can see it worked. So, friendly tip, if you ever want to start up a web server, you can. Just, use this command right there. And here I am serving out that page there. This file's inside of shared folder. So let me open up another terminal. This terminal is on my Mac, as you can see. This is my Ubuntu computer, and Puny here is my Mac. I'm going to go to my Documents folder, shared with guests. I'm going to open up a new window with my text editor, and I'm going to say, hey, open up index.html. There's the file. Let's change this. Let's add a paragraph of text. So I've created a paragraph of text. I save this file. All I did is push Control S. I saved this file. Let's just add some more. H2 is another. Let's put another paragraph. Now, it's not saved right there. File, save, come over to the web browser, reload this page. Aha! There you go. So now I can use my Macintosh's text editor development tools and stuff like that, have it on the VM and be able to access it via a web browser or other things like that. And if I install compilers and interpreters, I can have a whole lot of fun.